All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I've gotten so many requests on how to start an agency, how to do this, how to do that, blah, 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 blah. So you have to understand one thing, right? I'm not here to show you how to start agencies, right? We're specifically working, and I'm specifically working with agency owners between 10 to 30K who are maybe doing some outbound. They don't have a team. And we're kind of helping them scale up to 30 plus, right? We're helping them scale beyond 30K a month. And we do this firstly by shifting their mindset, by helping them quantum shift their mindset and quantum leap. And then secondly, giving them done for you systems, workflows, and snapshots, right? We help them transition from outbound to ads with a minimum of 7 to 12x ROAS. And the reason we only work with agency owners between the 10 to 30K range is because they have money to spend on ads. But this video is going to be specifically for someone that is or slash wants to start a new agency. And this is going to go back to the basics, right? So if you're an agency owner that's wanting to start a new offer, this will also be helpful for you. I personally use this exact same method to help me scale from 0 to 12K a month using the exact information that you're going to find within this video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So to zoom straight into it, right? There's a few parts to it. We're not going to go into inbound or outbound. We're going to go specifically into research and how you can start closing your first few clients, right? This is going to probably get you to around 5K, 10K, right? Depending on how much stress you can tolerate and how many calls and how many manual points of contact you can do actually yourself, right? So firstly, if this is you, right, and you have absolutely zero fucking idea on how to actually start an agency, right? First things first is you have to pick a niche, right? And picking a niche for me personally consists of four main things. Number one, four main things to consider before picking a niche. Number one is the buying cycle, right? Number two is deliverability. Number three is high niche ticket price. And number four is access to decision makers, right? These are the four things you need to consider before picking a niche and before going into that niche. Remember, never pick a niche that you want to pick. Always pick a niche that ticks all of these boxes, right? This is how you make money. Don't do what you want to do. Do what will make you money. And once you do what will make you money, then you can do what the fuck you want to do. If you're at zero, follow the money trail. And then you get to 10, 20, 30K, then you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want, right? Let's go step by step. What is a buying cycle, right? A buying cycle is basically how long does it take my client to close a client? So let's say, for example, you're working with real estate agents. Real estate agents have really long buying cycles, which means once they get a lead and once they get an appointment, it takes a while for them to close a deal. Now, if a real estate agent, it takes them 6 months to close a deal. If you have a 3-month contract with them, the perceived value of your offer gets lowered because they'll only make the money back after once they've actually closed the deal. Roofers, they take 2 to 3 months or maybe even 1 month to close the deal, right? Which means if your contract length is 2 months and they close a deal in the third month, your perceived value gets lowered. I personally work with online coaches because their buying cycle is less than a month. As soon as they book an appointment, they can close that call on that same fucking call. That's why I can charge higher ticket prices because they make the money back quicker. So I get perceived as being more valuable, right? Next is deliverability, right? Can I deliver? If so, how? Now, deliverability is so fucking important. You need to understand, how can I deliver for this client? Is when I'm going to run ads? Am I going to do a calling team for him? Like, how can I actually deliver him the results that I'm going to give him, right? So you have to consider that. Each niche has their own specific way of delivering. So you have to really consider that, right? Next is niche ticket price, which means how much money will my client make if they close a deal, right? Now, this goes back into real estate agents, right? If you have a 5K offer and they sell a house for, let's say, 100K, and they get their commissions and they make that 5K back, you're happy, right? Roofers, on average, they make around like 5 to 15 plus K per deal, right? So you being able to charge 5K, 10K, it doesn't really mean much to them. If you close them 1 or 2 deals, that's a ROAS, right? Now, if you're helping someone who has a lower ticket program, let's say like $500, or let's say $50, right? You're gonna have to do so much volume for them to for you to actually deliver for them. Therefore, it's going to be harder for you to deliver for them, right? So always consider, how much money will my client make? And depending on that is how you price your product, okay? Next is access to decision makers, right? So we went through Mr. Tate. Now we got to go to Mr. Shelby, right? Because this motherfucker right here is the decision maker, right? We have to understand, is it easy for me to get in touch with the founder, CEO, CFO, someone who can make decisions on behalf of the company, right? If it's hard for you to get to the decision maker, it's going to be hard for you to close deals. For example, like aesthetic clinics, right? Doctors, they always have a receptionist, right? So it's hard for you to get in touch with the exact doctor unless you go like another route, LinkedIn, whatever, you find the number of that specific founder, owner, whatever it is. They can make the decisions. The receptionist cannot make financial decisions for the company, right? So you need to consider all of this. How long does it take my client to close a client? Can I deliver? If so, how? How much money will my client make? And is it easy for me to get in touch with the person who can make decisions? Now, consider all of these things before picking a niche. And the niche you pick is someone who has a short buying cycle, easy to deliver, has a high ticket niche price, and is easy to get access to the decision maker. That's the niche you fucking go with, right? Because that's going to be the easiest to fucking go with. Now, look, this whole thing comes up like, what if the niche is saturated? What if this? What if that? Bro, look, saturation is a myth. There are enough businesses to go around. There's enough money to make in this entire world, right? So don't fall for the whole saturation hype, like for real. I fell for that and that was dumb as shit. Look, number two is research, right? Now that you figure it out, you said, okay, I pick X niche, right? Now you need to research the niche because you have absolutely no idea how to actually talk to this niche and sell to this niche. So what are the things you need to consider while researching? Number one is the need. Number two is ROI. Number three, psychographic language. Number four is their dream. And number five is their previously used vehicles. Now, what does that mean? Let's go into need, right? What do they need and what is their biggest problem right now, right? This is what you need to understand because this is the problem that you solve and that's why you get paid. You get paid in proportion to the size of the problems that you solve. You solve a small problem, you get paid a small amount. You solve a big problem, you get paid a big amount, right? Now, next is ROI. How much ROI can I generate? Time or money? Now, this directly correlates to niche ticket price, right? So how much ROI can I generate for them? So if they put in 100 into ads, how much are they going to get back, right? If they pay me $500, how much time am I going to save them, right? So you need to consider this, right? Next is psychographic language, right? This is super important, right? How do they language? How do they what is their language? How do they language? What the fuck does that even mean? How do they language? How do they speak? How do they speak? How do they speak? What are industry specific terms, right? So let's say, for example, you're not going to call up a dental clinic and tell them, hey, I'm going to get you more appointments and close deals. You're going to say, hey, I'm going to get you more patients to walk through that door and get them purchasing your high ticket Invisalign program or whatever the fuck, right? So those are the industry specific terms that you need to learn. Like if you're going with roofers, you might say, hey, I'm going to get you more booked inspections, qualified booked inspections for insurance claims, right? So you need to understand the language that they talk. That way you can actually communicate with them and you understand their fucking world, right? It's super important. Next is their dream. What does their dream version of their business look like? You know, how many hours are they working? How many employees do they have, right? Well, what is their profit margin sitting at, right? So how much time should they spend with content? How much time are they spending on sales calls? How much time are they? So you have to understand what the dream version of that specific industry's business looks like. For me, I work with all my coaches. They just want to make more and work less. How do we do that? We help them hire closers, setters, automate their back end, automate and delegate their back end, help them hire some coaches within their business. So this is the fucking coach's dream, by the way, right? I know this because I've been in this niche for longer than fucking 2 years, right? So you need to understand, maybe HVAC has a different one, dental clinics maybe have a different one, maybe they want to open more clinics. How can you help them do that? There's a lot more. So what does the dream version of their business look like, right? Next is previously used vehicles. Now this is what have they already tried before to solve their pain and get to their dream and just hasn't fucking worked, right? Now, with coaches, the easiest way to be like is, hey coaches, I know you've been fucking posting 3 times a day and have been getting no clients. Let me show you a method where you don't even have to post at all and you're gonna make money, right? So because you have to understand what else have they actually tried. It's like, hey, dental clinic, I know you've tried SEO on websites. That shit doesn't work. Trust me, this works, right? So when you know what they've tried before, you can bring that into your pitch, right? Because this shows that you already understand their niche, right? Now, when you understand the previously used vehicles, their dreams, psychographic language, ROI, and their need, you can sell. You can talk to them and you can fucking sell to them, right? Now, what's most important is actually how do you do this research, right? How the fuck do you actually find all this information out? Now, don't do ChatGPT. ChatGPT gives you the most generic fucking answers, bro. You don't want to like ChatGPT everything because you want to use your brain as well, right? So how do you kind of do this? How did I do it to get to my first 10, 20K? You want to call local businesses and ask them that specifically. You want to ask them like, what is their need, right? You want to understand like what is their psychographic language. You want to talk to them, not sell to them. What I used to do, right, is tell them you're doing market research. You can DM me on you can DM me on IG for the script that I use, but you can keep it basic, right? So what I used to do is I used to call up local businesses. This is when I started working with high performance coaches and executive coaches. So I called them up and I said, hey, I'm a university student in his second year of his marketing degree. And just for my assignment, I've just been calling around executive coaches around my area. I've just got 3 quick questions to ask you. I've got nothing to sell. I say, cool, go for it. And then I asked them like, so what would you say is like the biggest bottleneck in your business right now? Blah, 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 blah. And if you could maybe wave a magic wand, what would the dream version of your business kind of look like? Blah, 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 blah. Cool, dream. It's like, and have you tried marketing before? Like, what have you tried before to actually get you to that dream? And then they'll tell you exactly what it is. And then you ask them, so if there was a service that could get you to your dream, like what would that service kind of look like and how much would you be willing to pay for it? Bro, they give you all the information that you fucking need to craft up an offer, right? Like do this 5 to 10 times, take all the transcripts, put it into GPT. Now you can use GPT. Put it into GPT and tell it to craft your fucking offer and a pitch board, pitch deck, whatever you want. but now you have the information to actually go and attack the market, right? You cannot launch a full-scale war without having strategy, right? You cannot attack another kingdom without understanding the land, right? This is why I'm pretty sure this is why the Americans lost in the Cold War, because one of the fucking armies lost in the Cold War because it was fucking snowing. So the army that was, I might be completely wrong, but think about this. If I'm from a country that's so fucking cold and it's snowing all the time, and a country which is tropical, their army is better than mine, and they come to attack me, they're still fucked because I'm used to the snow, right? So you have to understand, like, before you attack, you need to strategize. So this is going to give you the strategy before you attack, right? This is not outbound, but this is crucial fucking information to make sure your outbound actually works, right? Now, once you do this, next up is the offer, right? Bruv, just GPT it or DM me for a prompt, right? But it's not that deep. Use all the information you got from the research, run it through GPT to craft an offer. Take the research plus this information and tell it to craft you a perfect offer, right? Now, the offer statement framework, Hermosi, so simple, right? I help niche who are in pain to get to their dream without what they tried before in X days. Like, just go creative with it. This is just basic shit, right? It's like, I help online coaches. I have online coaches posting 3 times a day, get to 15K a month without ever posting again in less than 90 days, right? Whatever. This is off the top of my fucking head, right? So you can do that. Like, it's not that fucking hard with it. Just go creative with it. And if you want any access to any resources I mentioned before, again, just DM me on IG, right? I'm not going to give you free sauce. I'll just direct you the right way, right? So next is outbound, right? And look, outbound is a whole different topic on its own, so I'll only brush upon it here, right? And this is the most important part, right? Because once you've done all of this, now you can start outbound. Look, the reason most people give up on agencies is because they don't do all of this. They don't do this fucking work. Like, this is the work that's so important. You cannot launch a full-scale war without strategizing. You need this strategy in order to actually win the war, right? I always talk in terms of wars and shit because it's just fun. But look, outbound is a whole different topic. So again, I'll only brush upon it here. But look, you just need these are like now you just need to do these 3 steps to close your first client. Simple: lead generation, appointment setting, and closing. Right? What you do is you get leads from Google Maps, call them using your fucking phone. Now, this is me assuming that you have absolutely zero experience. You don't have high level. You don't have a power dialer. You don't have VAs. You don't have Apollo AI. You've never fucking used Instant Data Scraper. You've never used any of that, right? And this is all assuming that you don't have CRM and nothing. You have fucking nothing, right? And this is how I started, right? From zero, right? And by the way, using all this information, you can also tell it to craft you a fucking script for the cold call, right? So get leads from Google Maps, call them using your phone, and use GPT to give you an appointment setting script based on the ICP info you gathered from the research, right? Excuse me. So this is why it's so important. Again, this is why it's so important that you have access to the decision makers, because then when you look for them on Google Maps, it's going to give you the number of the decision makers. So it's fucking crucial, right? Call them using your phone, literally pick up your fucking phone, dial their number, and just call them up. And then you book them into discovery calls, right? Where you can understand their situation and sell your service, right? I used to do 2 call closes before because I wasn't really that good at sales and objection handling. Now I just do 1 call closes. But before, what I used to do is the first call, I used to do a discovery call. And then the next call is when I would pitch, right? Discovery call is like uncover their pains, go deeper in their dreams, go into their emotional pulls. Why do they want to scale? Why do they want the service? Why is the service important to them? And you can use like NEPQ questioning, like essentially lead them into the sale, kind of asking like, so, let's say you're selling ads. You can be like, so I know that you've tried SMSs before and now you're kind of moving into ads. Like, what do you think ads can do for your business? Like, oh, I think ads will help me scale to 50K a month, and it's going to be like no work for me as well. I don't have to pick up the phone. So essentially you get them to sell themselves, but that's a whole nother topic for another fucking day, right? But yeah, outbound simple. Lead generation, step 1 is go to Google Maps, get the leads, set the appointment on the phone, give them a cold call and be like, hey, I just want to be honest with you. This is a cold call. But I do have something to sell to you. Have you got like 30 seconds? This might be useful, or some shit like that. That's the script that usually works, to be honest from the start. And if they're not interested, they just, you don't waste your time. You don't waste their time, right? You want to do at least around like 100 to 200 calls a day, at least, right? You do 100 to 200 calls, maybe 20 will pick up, bro. 20 will pick up. You'll set around like 3 to 5 appointments, and out of like 10 appointments, you'll close like 1 or 2 deals, right? It's just from thin air, by the way. You're making money from fucking thin air. You're just putting your time in, right? So again, this is assuming you don't have a fucking team. If you have a team, then everything is automated, right? And if you have some money to spend, then what's going to happen is, you actually have the ability to go and hire a setter who's going to do 150 to 300 calls for you every single day, right? So there's a lot that you can do, but this is for absolute beginners, someone who's never fucking done this before. So that's pretty much about it. If I get any fucking other questions on how to start a fucking agency, I'm sending you guys right here, man. Like, I'm sick of answering this fucking question on Instagram. I do love y'all, right? But look, again, all this information is useful only if you actually fucking use it, right? So, anyways, I'm gonna cut this video short. I got shit to do. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you soon. Peace.